is a beginner's guide to Shion, the crazy Japanese clanker. We're going over abilities and playstyle so you can also start playing Shion. Shion's sub-role is flanker. She heals extra from health packs. Health packs are these points on the ground where you can heal, so you don't always have to rely on supports for that. There are small and big health packs. The big health packs already healed you to full health even without this perk, so the perk is useless. But the small health packs usually only heal about 30%, which is a small amount. But with this perk, Shion gets healed for about 60% of her total health. Shion's primary fire are her Kira pistols. Shion shoots her pistols and that's it. They're just normal double pistols. She could have held one pistol and it wouldn't have made a difference, but she wanted to be extra. They need to be reloaded, you can hit headshots, and the bullets are hit scans, so they instantly hit whenever you fire. The two things that I want to mention is, the damage on these guns is not amazing, especially if you take reloading into account. So don't expect to make kills just with the pistols. The fall-off range is also pretty short, so be prepared to get pretty close to your target. Shion's secondary fire is execution. Shion charges her guns and shoots in an X shape. Bullets come out rapidly in this shape, which is not very helpful. So holding down the button makes the X shape smaller while shooting the same amount of bullets. This causes the damage done to enemies to go up because more bullets are hit. Holding down your secondary fire has two parts to it. First, execution will charge up until it's as accurate as possible. Then you can keep holding it for a little while before Shion fires the ability regardless. Get used to the timing to get the maximum out of your ability. Keep in mind that the total amount of damage that this ability does is always the same as long as you hit every bullet. Charging execution up is just a way to tighten the bullet spread. Fall-off range and being the headshot works the same way as if you were using your primary fire. Shion's ability 1 is evade. Shion dashes in any direction over the ground and gains overhealth. Overhealth is the type of health which is temporary. The amount of overhealth is pretty small and you can take damage while dashing as well. The dash is always the same distance and you can't cancel it by yourself. The overhealth lasts a very short time, barely longer than the duration of the dash itself. You get a tiny burst of overhealth first, then that overhealth starts decaying right after your dash is complete. Shion's ability 2 is Joyride. She summons a motorbike and rides on it. After she's done riding it, Shion sends her bike out where it will keep going until it hits an enemy or a wall. The bike has a constant speed unless you slow it down by trying to walk backwards. There's no speeding up, just fast and slow. You can further control the bike by looking around. The default setting, relative steering sensitivity during Joyride, also allows you to control your bike by moving left and right. But I found this to be extremely counterproductive, so I have it turned off. You can also jump while driving. Note that you can still take damage while riding, and there's a relatively long animation time for getting on the bike, during which enemies could shoot you. In order to deal damage, you can drive over someone for a tiny bit of damage, or you just send your bike out. There are two ways of doing that: over the ground and in the air. Going over the ground deals a tiny bit of extra damage while also being faster. Press primary fire or ability 2 while riding normally to send your bike out, so try to hit your bike directly when you can. If you jump, you can hold either the primary fire button or the ability 2 button. As long as you're holding either button, this will allow you to aim your bike while slightly floating up. In either case, the damage is broken up in both the impact and explosion. There's also a knockback effect, sending enemies flying. As a final bonus, you also reload your gun while driving. Shion's ultimate is Satsuriku spree. She dashes and shoots everything in a circle around her up to 3 times. To start, press your ultimate button. The animation starts to glow and the camera turns into a third-person perspective. There's a timer with 3 shots below your crosshair. You have to pull off those 3 shots before the timer runs out, or your ultimate will stop without ever dealing damage. You can either press your primary fire button to dash. Shion will then dash and shoot everything in a sphere around her after stopping at the end of the dash. Or you press your secondary fire and you shoot everything in a circle around your current position. You can also move a tiny bit while shooting, although you're a bit slower while doing so. You can also dash up if you want to. Activating Satsuriku spree also reloads Shion's weapon. Shion's first minor perk is rapid reload. Using ability 1 evade, reload Shion's weapon for half a clip. Shion's second minor perk is Ex Machina. Her secondary fire execution does more damage to enemies below half health. This damage is calculated per bullet. Shion's first major perk is Refuel. Getting on her bike with ability 2 Joyride instantly heals Shion for a little bit and then heals her more for every second she's riding. Shion's second major perk is Faces of Death. Shion gains all damage sub-role passive abilities. These passives are Recon, Specialist, and Sharpshooter. Recon reveals enemies to you who have less than half health when you damage them. You'll see these as red figures through walls. Specialist makes you reload faster after getting an elimination. Eliminations are given to you whenever you deal damage to someone and that enemy dies within a certain amount of time. You can see next to your crosshair when Specialist is active. Sharpshooter makes every critical hit from both Shion's primary fire and secondary fire lower the cooldown of both Shion's ability 1 evade and ability 2 Joyride. If the video helped, make sure to subscribe. We're on the grind to 1000 subscribers, and that's all our abilities. abilities and guns. Shion is quite difficult, but very fun if you understand her playstyle. The freedom that her abilities give, and her high mobility gives her a lot of options. I was able to boil down all her abilities into a single gameplay loop with the highest chance of success that's easy to pick up for you. I want to mention that there's a bunch of other more advanced techniques that you can use, but for now, go in with the ability to Joyride, hit the bike against someone, and damage them further with primary fire Kyrie pistols or secondary fire execution. Then get the elimination or get out with ability 1 evade. Shion is pretty fragile, because she has to get close to enemies in order to deal damage. The issue is that her main mobility tool being her bike, also being the best way to start a fight or to kill someone. Shion also technically has low damage numbers, but it's enough to kill every hero who's not a tank pretty fast. This makes Shion's target anyone who you can get to with your bike who's not a tank. Now let's add a huge but to the problem. If your biggest mobility is also used to attack, you're only left with ability 1 evade. That might be enough to avoid a little bit of damage, but you can't get away from anyone in a meaningful way if you're too far away from a team. When you see an enemy, you have the choice between shooting them before your bike reaches them, then you do the gameplay loop, or you take them by surprise and start with the bike. I can recommend the latter, because if an enemy has to turn around while also being knocked up, that will give you extra time to deal damage, because they're also confused. But sometimes an enemy is already aware of you, and you still want to take the fight. Then you start by shooting them first from a distance. I call this softening, as you're preparing a fight by reducing their health or taking cooldowns. Make sure to fight an enemy who's somewhat close to your team. Shion is very immobile without her bike, and her dash is also not on a very short cooldown. Mismanage those abilities and you will be very quickly stuck without a way out. Imagine the fight happening in a rectangle. Everyone is looking straight at each other. What you want to do is to go a bit outside of that rectangle without straying too far away from the team. Then you start doing your thing. When you're done, you get back. When you've used your bike, try to chill and wait. And these are times when you simply can't go in. And sometimes you can't even go in with your bike up. So it's time to do the second best thing, which means shooting with your primary fire Kyrie pistol. You'd be surprised by how much damage you can deal even from a distance if you just keep shooting. The best way to use your ultimate is to finish off enemies instead of starting it. If enemies are already fighting, they're usually focusing on someone else. This is the best way to use Shion's ultimate for multiple reasons. During the ultimate, Shion is locked out of her ability. There's nearly no way to stay safe while ulting. There's no dash, there's no bike, and when you start ulting, a huge voice line and flashing lights appear, basically screaming, "Shoot me! Shoot me!" Lastly, the damage per burst never kills anyone from full health. It's simply not enough damage. For perks, I simply just go for Ex Machina and Faces of Death. I'm all for more damage, but if you find a reason to play with the other perks, go ahead. I'm sure there's no use for all of them anyways. Use my preference or find your own, it's your choice. Thanks for watching, check if you've already subscribed, and have fun on Shion, and I will see you the next time.